Hello, and welcome to Choice and Chance Tabletop Role Playing Games. My name is Chuck. In this episode of Encounters for You, we are going to be putting a bear on the table. Not literally on the table, but a bear's in the game. Not this kind of bear, not this kind of bear, and hopefully not this kind of bear either. Rather, this kind of bear. So, why a bear? Well, for your setting and for your campaign, you will need to answer that question for yourself. I think that when you're designing larger set encounters that exist within the world, you need to be thinking about the themes and the feelings that those encounters are trying to evoke. I'm not big on direct exposition in these games, and I think that having themes and currents in your campaign world that are reinforced by encounters is one of the best ways to hook players. So I picked bears because mundane creatures that are significant are enormous for contrast. Your fantastical elements seem that much more fantastic. The magical side of your game, if you have one, is elevated, and it provides this sense of grit and believability. It also helps with your description and your sort of the way that you build mystery around monsters. If you can do it with a simple monster, you should have a better ability at doing it with more complex monsters as well. Now, the themes and the feelings that I wanted to sort of have underneath a bear being a large encounter in my game world are sort of the thoughts of civilization against nature. I run a low magic, low population campaign right now, and I wanted there to be this feeling that there's no easy solution to a bear that's terrorizing an area. There's not a large, government with an army that can dispatch soldiers to get rid of a bear. There's not a retinue of town guards that are freely available to do that. Most of the town guards are volunteers. They're not going to go fight a bear in their time off. I wanted to have the feeling be conveyed without telling the players that there's no, big solid backbone of society, and there's not, this wave of safety waiting for them whenever they return to town. I just wanted them to kind of slowly feel the isolation and the sense of, if we don't deal with the problems here, nobody will. I wanted that to be the thing that they got out of the bear being a big deal. So, depending on your campaign and your style of game, you may have different methods for introducing information about the world or how you set the players up on quests. In my game, I play a very free-form sandbox where the players just choose whatever they would like to do. And I generally do my exposition through random encounters. Now, random encounters I feel like are great for exposition because you can avoid feeling preachy, you can really show and not tell, and they also can surprise you as the game master and give you the sense that something is unfolding in front of you. Now, random encounters, I think, are particularly excellent in showcasing monsters like a bear that control a large amount of territory in the world. They have a big effect on the environment and the ecology, and they're going to be like signs of them all about near their lair or den. So if my party's in the appropriate hex and the random encounter table hits bear, that does not necessarily mean that the bear shows up, charges the party, and fights to the death. Rather, there are secondary tables that indicate the context of the bear encounter. So we could have anything from tracks to markings on trees, recently caught prey that the bear had. Maybe even people talking about the bear could be a random encounter that would be associated with it. And you can see that you can sort of do the classic monster movie trope of the monster as a mystery, and the party may encounter signs of the bear or, the aftermath of things that the bear has done several times before actually engaging with it, and that builds an ethos. It builds this tension and expectation of the encounter that I think is really important for a good catharsis. So now that you have a general idea of how I would introduce a creature like this, and the answer is slowly over time. Generally, my players will be on a different quest and doing something else, and signs of the bear will appear that foreshadow that it's in the area, and the players can then decide if that's something that they want to meaningfully interact with. In this case, the bear's territory had put it relatively close to civilization, and it was raiding a road, kind of causing havoc. It attacked a farm, and the local towns and villages put a bounty on the bear. Now, that motivates my players because I think that I have a reasonably good system for gold in my game, which is very hard to keep the case, but you try to make gold valuable in your games, and it was enough money that the players wanted to go after it. And once that was decided, and they were traveling towards the hexes that were the bear's territory, the chances of encounters involving the bear goes up, and you can move towards actually looking at the bear's den and what an encounter with it would look like. Alright guys, so here we are with putting together the battle map. I do play online. I have a large group, and it's very hard to get everybody together in person once a week, so we play online. It helps us stay consistent with our sessions and whatnot. And honestly, I don't mind it too much. I find it enjoyable. This is a map that I made using Dungeon Draft by Megasploot and the Forgotten Adventures asset packs off Patreon. Can't recommend either of those things enough. Just amazing if you play online or you make battle maps at all. Highly recommend looking at their stuff. This is a really simple one. I made this map in about 3 minutes. It's just 2 entrances. One of them is a small stream that starts above ground outside the den and then goes underground and then leads into the den, and the other one is just the mouth of the cave itself. Now, the bear obviously doesn't have to be encountered here, but my players in general, I know them. When they are dealing with unintelligent creatures, they try and ambush them where they sleep most of the time. My players are crazy. But when I was designing this bear, and I was putting the setting together, I really had this, I wanted to have a theme of nature being, like wild and untamed and dangerous. And the bear I wanted to be a challenge, like a real challenge and like a real force in the ecosystem. And for me, that means that if a party of level 1 or 2 characters is going to go after this bear, they're really going to have to avoid fighting it at all. And they're really going to want to instead, use their tactics, use their intelligence, and avoid it. And if a party of 3rd, 4th, 5th level characters are going after this bear, they're still going to need to have their head on straight and play smart to succeed. So to do that, I essentially scaled the bear's health to take about 15 hits from a level 3 character. So I just calculated the average damage of a level 3 character, gave the bear 15 times that HP. Now, that might seem like a lot to some people, but again, 8 players, and they have hirelings, and that bear, even with that much health, may still only last 2 rounds. So it's not too crazy. And then I gave this bear 3 attacks, 2 claw attacks and a bite, and I also gave it the ability to knock creatures in its path prone when it moved on a save. And these things put together, my party ended up taking on this bear when they were almost, I think there were some people that were level 3, some people that were level 2, and it was a very crazy, tense, close fight. Nobody actually died. No party members died, but it was pretty harrowing. There was people getting all the way down to their last hit point. Very narrow escapes, a couple of clutch misses by the bear, and a couple of clutch hits by some players. And it was a situation where it easily could have been, 3-player characters going down. But they managed to all survive. Honestly, worked perfectly for how I had designed it, and I was really happy with how it turned out. I'll throw up some of the numbers I used from GAN. Remember, I do play or if you haven't seen my biases video, I do play kind of a jank homebrew system, so you will need to do some of your own math to make this work for your game. So, all that's left to cover is loot. Now, there was a bounty on the bear in my campaign, which is a gold reward, and gold is pretty significant in the game world that I have established, at least right now, for my players. But generally when I have less intelligent creatures that don't have any value for material things. I try and have there be something in their den or, in their possession that is valuable in some way. In this case, I rolled some random tables, and the bear had dragged some enemy faction members to its den. One of them had a simple letter on them with some information about their activities in the area. Nothing crazy, nothing, totally game-changing, but the players were very happy to find it. Information they didn't have and that they wanted. So, when you think about loot on mundane, unintelligent creatures, kind of got to think a little differently. I suppose you could have some druids or people with druidic spells who are able to pass the bear safely, who are using its den to hide valuable items, or a fey spirit who wants to commend the party for getting rid of the bear. You can take your own liberties with how you want to do loot after an encounter like this. But for me, the bounty plus a little bit of intel seemed like plenty. So I think that's about it for this video. I want to thank you guys for watching. This is the first in a series of mini videos. I've got a lot to say. I've got a lot of content I want to make. I would really appreciate any comments, any feedback, any critiques, or your guys' perspective on mundane monsters or bears specifically in your campaigns. And thank you all for watching, and good luck in your games.